Hi there, today we're going to be going over the SSAT upper level. I'll be giving you an overview of the verbal reading and writing sections. In addition, I'll be going over some useful strategies and give you some sample questions so you have an idea of what to expect on test day. The SSAT verbal section consists of a total of 60 questions. It will test you on your vocab and verbal reasoning skills. They do this through two types of questions, analogies and synonyms. So what this means for you is you'll have to know the definitions of the words that are given in these questions, but you'll also have to be able to understand relationships between certain words or groups of words. This makes it a little bit more challenging than just a regular vocab test. There are several strategies that you can use to improve your verbal score on the SSAT. The first one that we need to go over is how to memorize vocab effectively. I highly recommend using flashcards. Online flashcards are available on Quizlet. This is something that I use myself when I was a student, so I highly recommend using it. You can import flashcards from other people who are studying for the SSAT, and it's very similar to just making traditional flashcards. If that's what you prefer, you can use traditional flashcards as well. You can also use mnemonics. These are devices that can help you memorize concepts or words. I'm sure you've heard of Fanboys, right, from English Grammar. That's an example of a mnemonic acronym. You can also use Latin roots. Now, if you look on the screen, you can see this question: what do aquarium and aquifer have in common? You probably guessed, oh, okay, AQU, kind of similar to aqua. They have a similar prefix. Obviously, aqua related to water. So you know that aquarium and aquifer both have to do with water. Even if you don't know exactly what an aquarium or aquifer are, you might be able to at least know that they're related to water based on their prefix, which is a Latin root. So all of these are useful strategies that you can use to improve your verbal skills. Another useful verbal strategy for the SSAT that you'll need to understand is that words can have different meanings depending on different contexts. Let's take a look at the example on the screen. There's two sentences. The first reads, processed foods often contain artificial flavors. So in the first sentence, artificial refers to something that's man-made in a lab. Food science has allowed people to create flavors that are not natural based on things that you would just find out in nature, but we have certain flavors thanks to modern technology, right? Certain chemicals or certain substances. If you look at the word artificial in the second sentence, the boy's artificial smile belied his distaste for broccoli. You'll notice that it's used in a different way. According to the second sentence, the boy doesn't like broccoli, but he's smiling. The artificial smile in the second sentence is focusing on the aspect of the smile not really expressing how the boy truly feels about broccoli. It's kind of a forced smile. So in this case, it's really different from the way artificial is used in the first sentence. So this is a really good example, and you have to be able to read a word, read the context, and then be able to figure out, okay, what exactly is the meaning of this word depending or based on this particular context. It's a very important skill and strategy that you'll have to use in order to do well on the SSAT verbal. Another SSAT verbal strategy that you can use, which is really helpful for analogies in particular, you can put the words in a sentence that shows the relationship between the two words or concepts. So when you do this, make sure the sentences are specific, but not too specific. The sentence has to show the relationship between the two words clearly, in other words. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sample question for the SSAT verbal. Taciturn is to chatty as A, stand is to sit, B, anger is to rage. C, June is to summer. And D, spoon is to bowl. Now, if you've got really strong vocab skills, you probably already know what taciturn and then what the correct answer choice is. But if you didn't really know exactly what taciturn meant, you could still kind of answer this question by understanding the relationship between taciturn and chatty being one of opposition. So you look through the answer choices and you see which one is also a relationship of opposition. Well, if you look through the answer choices, you'll see that actually A is the correct answer, right? Taciturn means the opposite of chatty. If you're taciturn, you're not really inclined to speak much, and that is an opposite relationship, right? And that is the same kind of relationship in answer choice A. Therefore, we want to go with answer choice A. Standing is also the opposite of sitting. Now let's go over the reading section of the SSAT. The reading section of the SSAT will test your ability to read and understand passages. The way it's structured is you'll have 40 minutes to complete 40 multiple choice questions, and the reading section will contain about 7 passages. The first strategy I want to go over for SSAT reading is understanding and mastering time management. As I mentioned before, you only have 40 minutes to answer 40 questions. That comes out to about 1 question per minute on average. So as you take practice tests and you do practice questions, you'll get a feel for how quickly you answer these questions and then pace yourself accordingly. The second thing I want to go over is understanding and mastering the test format. You have to understand what kind of passages you'll see on the test, and you have to familiarize yourself with the different question types. When it comes to the different kinds of passages, you'll see passages that are history, science based. You'll also see some persuasive writing pieces, and there will also be some fiction and poetry. When it comes to the question types, you'll see questions related to main ideas or details. You can also see inference questions, vocab and context, purpose, the purpose of a certain passage, or the tone of a certain passage. Certain question types deal with one particular part of the passage. These are what we call specific questions. So detailed questions are an example of specific questions. On the other hand, questions that deal with the passage as a whole or the entire passage, we call these global questions. So the author's purpose or the main idea of a passage. These are examples of global questions. Generally speaking, specific questions are easier than global questions. Additionally, you can use process of elimination to make educated guesses. Get rid of the answer choices that you know are wrong to increase your odds when you're guessing. So choose the best answer, and you can always skip difficult questions and come back to them later. Take a moment to read this passage and focus on the section with the underlined word. The passage stated that the internet is effectively a global network of various servers and computers that provide information on virtually every conceivable topic. Now, the word conceivable that was underlined in the passage, it's being used in this kind of sense. We can find information on virtually or almost any topic that we could think of. So if you look at the answer choices, only one of these answer choices is similar to something that you can think of. Answer choice C, imaginable, you use your imagination to think of certain things. And that is why C is the correct answer. Finally, let's go over the writing section of the SSAT. You'll have 25 minutes to write an essay based on a prompt. The essay is not scored, but the admissions counselors at the schools that you apply to will be reading this essay, so don't take it lightly. Be sure to organize the information in your essay well, make it coherent, and keep your content related to the prompt. Don't go off topic. Don't try to be too wordy when you write your essay. Write clearly and concisely. In terms of structure, stick to the standard 4-paragraph essay format. When you write your essay, always include 2 examples to support your thesis. Each example will be a body paragraph, and grammar and spelling do count. So make sure you brush up on your grammar and try to reduce the number of spelling mistakes. You can proofread your essay if you have time left over. Let's go over a sample writing prompt that you would encounter on the writing section of the SSAT upper level. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Do you agree or disagree with this topic statement? Support your position with 1 or 2 specific examples from personal experience, the experience of others, current events, history, or literature. If you're not familiar with this topic, it's basically the idea that if you want a reward, you're going to have to take some risks. So if you agree with this idea, there's a lot of good examples of actually contemporary figures, guys like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, who took a lot of risks in business, but then they reaped the financial rewards and they became very successful businessmen. So that would be a good way to approach a topic like this. Let's wrap up with an overview of how the SSAT is scored. Questions, as I mentioned earlier, they are multiple choice. You get 1 point for every correct answer, but you get minus 1/4 of a point for every incorrect answer. This is the guessing penalty, so don't just guess haphazardly. Use process of elimination to your benefit when you're guessing. Finally, your raw score for SSAT upper level is scaled and converted to a scale of 1500 through 2400. All right, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you learned something valuable, and I wish you the best of luck as you prepare for the SSAT.